the September meeting of the Harwich Accessibility Rights Committee. We need to approve the minutes. We
So
had
moved.
a motion by Steve Duffy and second by Michael Gaskell.
Don't confuse me with him.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I? I'm so sorry.
He's a pretty good guy, huh?
Yeah.
So are you.
I don't know.
Don, I apologize. Anyway, by Donald Gaskell, and we have John Libby here today from the Facilities Director of the Department of Public Works to speak to us.
Yes.
Okay.
So it started talking about the 2018 study that was done and the priorities that was given to us by the assessment, and the fact that we had divvied up the projects by priority. In 2018, we did have $20,000 that was put towards this, approved by town meeting. And since then, the capital outlay requests have been pushed back for other higher priorities. I've got another request in for this year for the capital outlay committee to approve. If it gets approved by them, finance committee, and the board of selectmen, it will go in front of town meeting next May. From that point, if it gets approved, this is where I was saying I could use this committee's assistance in prioritizing some of these items. Some of these items in here have been taken care of just through routine repairs from my shop. For example, I talked about standing water fountains. Well, we've gotten rid of all the water fountains because of COVID. Mostly we have drinking stations now for bottle fills. So those items were taken care of just by default. I know of some large dollar items that I think need to be taken care of. That would be the entranceway here. The walkway into town hall has two big curbs you got to go over. It doesn't even go over to the wheelchair access ramp. It goes over to a curb. So those items I would prioritize, but I would leave that up to this committee.
I just need a clarification.
Yes.
I wasn't sure what you were saying about the money. In 2018, it was there and not used.
Correct.
Did that go back into general funds, or is it's sequestered?
Yes.
Is it
It is
invested
an
in some
article.
way to grow it a bit?
Article money has to stay with the article, and that's, our only option is to cancel, it doesn't go to general fund.
Okay, but it wasn't invested in any, money producing, okay. It just was hanging out there somewhere, okay.
But that's a good question, because people are suspicious if it goes to general fund, that would waste it, basically.
Oh, I don't mind that. I mean, I don't mind
John,
general funds.
my memory is,
Okay.
on the priority, that we struggle with that a bit, because they seem to have almost everything as number one priority.
Yeah, there
At
was.
the time when Matt and I were talking, the other part we struggle with, and I'm hoping that the committee will help you with, is some of the articles that they mentioned didn't make a lot of sense to us. For example, Jenny pointed out, I think when she was here, there's this doors of the library that they want to fix, that lead out to nowhere, being a mistake in trying to make those emergency doors. So I think that's the kind of what the committee has to look at too, with your cooperation of what
Absolutely.
makes sense.
No, I'm
So-
definitely there to help, but some of the items, I would disagree. I think they did have quite a few priority 2s and 3s.
Yeah, okay.
And 4s. So the priority 1s, they were looking at, it says right here, it's program access.
Okay.
So that, therefore, if you have a tripping hazard, that would be something that would stop somebody from
Okay.
accessing a building and should be a priority 1.
Okay, fair enough. Good point.
Yep. So,
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
I'm confused if the money, the article already was approved at town meeting,
yes.
and the money's sitting there, like Eileen said, then we just can't, we have to still go back to town meeting next May?
No, the only $20,000 was approved. When I put it in, working with Chris Clark, we decided to go with, and I think it was mainly priority 1 that was approved in 2018. So that $20,000 was for some of the priority 1 items. The remaining funds that we still need to request are for a lot of the other projects. So it was so we could take care of the things that we felt was important. So that $20,000 is there. It's just that, you know, between COVID happening and just being overwhelmed with a lot of other items, it hadn't been touched by me, and I would be the only one to do it.
So would we have to come up with what our priorities are for the $20,000? Or are you talking about other funding that the committee would come up?
No, you could get started now, you have $20,000 to say, hey, come back to me, Sean, what do you think about doing these items? How would we go about it, in-house or go out to a contract? If we went out to a contract, we'd have to write specifications up for people to bid on. Or if I did it in-house, I could say, you know what, this is mostly material. So we buy the material and I'll use my labor, which wouldn't cost the town anything. So it depends on what projects you picked, which items you picked. So if you've got this report, as a committee, you could dissect it and decide what you feel is important. And then come to me and I'll say, this is how I recommend to attack it. For the beginning, we have $20,000 to start with. For the future, we're requesting another 120 for the larger items, which will be a lot of asphalt, some brickwork in front of the library, I believe was on this list.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I think there's brickwork across the street. Again, that's in-house.
that brickwork probably would not be, no, we don't have the skill set there
Yeah.
for masonry.
And time-wise, in-house, you're talking less than 3 months?
No, because my shop of myself, a manager that spends 50% of his time administrative,
Right.
I have 3 others, a plumber, a general worker, and a helper. So if they don't have the skill to do it, I have to take my 50% of time, I'm not doing administrative, and assist them, guide them, give them training, show them how to do it, and then go back and inspect it. So we're doing all that while we're doing repairs to all the heating, plumbing, air conditioning, everything. So we're quite busy, and that's why I looked at some of these items and said, you know, we'll take care of it through normal, rather than making a big project of it, because I was slightly overwhelmed.
Can I just ask, for the minutes, the amount of money that you are requesting for the larger projects?
This is in my capital outlay request right now. It has not been
Right,
approved.
that's why I said requesting.
Yeah, it has not been approved. I believe it was presented Friday for the first time.
Okay.
Excuse me,
But-
but I don't know what you're talking, what did you say, what project?
For the minutes.
For the minutes,
No, I know that, but
I asked Sean to please repeat the amount that he told us he was requesting for larger
for the
projects.
future, yeah.
100,
I want the minutes to be accurate. I have
121,000.
It's 121, okay. I had 120, I was close.
Okay, thank you. But if the committee decides we have, and in conjunction with having meetings with you, if we come up with projects that we want to spend the 121, we have to define what those projects are and work with you first. Great.
I think that's the best way to do it.
That's what.
Otherwise, it might just sit on the table while I'm focusing on other things, to be honest. I would appreciate the help.
No, well, we would. This is making a lot more sense to me now. What do you think? John, what do you think?
I have to read through the list again.
Oh, yeah.
Pick up one.
Oh,
of them.
yeah.
I couldn't tell you what's there.
Didn't memorize it.
Yeah,
No.
To be honest, I had planned on looking at it yesterday, and I had something else, and then this morning, and I ended up getting called for this air conditioner that went out when we lost power, so I got back at 12:30, grabbed the book, and said, all right, I haven't looked at it in 3 years,
Wow.
so.
No, it's expensive to say the least.
So some of the things on that list you've already done.
Yes,
Yeah.
and and I would have to take the time to go through it and identify. I just, when I was sitting here right before the meeting, I was noticing it, oh, that's been done, just through attrition. Some of the door closures were replaced that they wanted adjusted. It was, they had leaked out, so it had no oil, so we replaced it, and now it's under 5 pounds of pressure, so.
So something like that, the door closures would be part of your regular maintenance?
And/or repairs. Sometimes I'll get a call from one of the departments saying, hey, this door closure is leaking oil all down the wall, can you come take a look at it?
Or if it's like way too heavy?
Or if it's way too heavy and can be adjusted. Some of them can be adjusted and some of them can't be.
Yeah.
And I think I saw in the minutes where somebody in this committee asked why the town hall doesn't work. It was turned off.
Just turned off.
Steve, I was going to fix it, and I said, no, let's cut it in the minutes.
That was $120,000 worth of work.
So, I don't do that to point at, that's just a common thing for me. We'll get call, hey, the council on aging, the door's not working. I'll go there and, the switch is off.
Right.
So it does happen. And then sometimes it's legitimately broke, so. Those are the things we respond to.
Those are the kind of fixes we like, just flipping a switch.
Those are quick. Those are ones I like and I don't like, because then I was like, who's turning these things off?
Glad you were there, because I don't know the switch is there.
Sean, is it a huge effort to just take that and mark down what's been done?
No, it's just probably take me an hour or two.
Okay. And then if I could order them downstairs, so possibly you could drop it off and they can make copies for the committee?
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
That would be phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, how else are you gonna know what still needs to be done,
Well,
so.
that's what I was thinking, one of us would go and meet with you and go.
No, it'd be better just for me to sit in my quiet time and try to knock it down,
Thank you.
go through work orders.
At about midnight?
Yeah.
I'm retired. This is my hobby, so.
I need to go back to the money for a bit.
I want to be sure I understand that.
Yeah. Where it is and how do we access that? Is there a formal process to that
Well,
happening?
you go through Sean.
You?
Yes.
Okay.
Sean's, that's exactly right, yep.
Okay.
It doesn't go through us selectmen anymore because it's already been appropriated. Now it's in Sean's hands.
Well, you have to have access to it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
part of my management job, so I would look at it and I would follow, how much we spend and say, all right,
Sure.
we're done.
Now, does some of your regular projects come out of that money? Oh,
It
it's specifically
could've.
for ADA?
It absolutely could have, but I took it out of my operating and maintenance money,
Okay,
my general operating fund.
okay.
Would you be able to see glaring need when you go through these lists?
I might. What I think is a glaring
No,
need.
if you-
Like, I use this as an example, this has been wrong, that walkway, I keep pointing down there, but the walkway that we have for the town hall
Uh-huh.
is pretty glaring to me. We're telling people to walk that way, and there's 6-inch curbs on both sides.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would be a G for glaring.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all learning. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other question is, should we go through the town, or like a walkway thing, should we apply for a grant? Problem is, the grant is gonna take longer to find out than putting out an RFP and all that
Years.
kind of stuff, right?
True,
Yeah.
absolutely true, definitely longer, but grants are nice because they're reimbursement, so we get money right back into
Yes.
our article so we can spend it on other stuff. So, if somebody's got time to research grants, that would be a huge
Yeah.
plus for us.
Enables you to have the money to do more.
Yes.
Could you give us a guesstimate, how much something like the glaring error of the walkway coming into town?
I couldn't, one of my coworkers could.
Didn't our first speaker say that a curb cut costs $3,000?
Lincoln is my
Yeah,
boss.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Okay.
I was just interested in that curb cut too.
I'm learning a lot,
Yes,
a lot.
that's why we're glad he's here.
Yeah.
Well, and we still have more. Especially once he comes back with what has already been done and what he sees as glaring errors. Then we decide what our priorities are and go from there. Still could do both.
Were you at all involved with the new playground at the elementary school?
Not at all.
No. That's the wrong question. Just because I read an article that it was ADA compliant and I wanted to go and look at it. Okay. Okay. Enough said.
Larry, what would be and you also, John, what would be the process of pursuing grant funding? I don't mind writing things, but you really have to kind of push it along and shepherd it through the process. And I don't know the town stuff like you do.
You put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Grant writing's tough because we don't have a grant writer per se. And so the department heads have gone after the grants themselves, looked at it. I would suggest that you have a private discussion with Megan,
Okay,
assistant town administrator. She's been doing
Yeah.
some of that. She might direct us. And, it is possible we could find some administrative funds to help pull that along too.
Well, when I say-
Because, it's difficult because some things we lack. One is we don't have, if we were a corporation, for instance, we would have someone who's watching the Federal Register to see what grants are available in the county.
right.
We don't
Oh,
often keep track of that, so there's, the county offers some resources on it.
Yeah,
I can check and give you a name there. to
Okay.
check on what they have available to you, because as I mentioned earlier, there's a chance that we could tap into some of the ARPA funds the second round. The first round has come, the $10 million for the Cape has come and gone, basically. I mean, we put an application in,
right.
but there's another 40 million supposed to come later, so there is some funding. So, the first step, I think, is not to beat a dead horse, is to look at those projects you think are most important, and then start sending those as, checking with the county, checking with the, unfortunately, it's kind of grunt work in that,
Yes.
to that extent.
Well, part of
And
what
then
I was
we get-
asking,
And then there are some people, Allison Boyd, for instance, in town, has been a grant writer for years. She, for not a reasonable fee, she might help write some grants, because it takes, I think you were talking about, it's a special skill or talent or witchcraft to put together the grant writing
Right.
so that it attracts people's attention. I don't have that myself.
Yeah. I know that Matt Hart, that's how he had this project funded, was through a grant.
I was impressed with what I saw there.
Yeah. And in fact, thank you, Sean, because if Matt's here next week, he can tell you all the people he contacted.
okay,
With the different agencies in the state that he contacted to help him with that. So keep those questions in reserve.
sure.
But
I don't mind
let's be
writing.
clear though, the first step is to identify what you think is most important. And then to work with Sean and get that priority, and then we can look at source of funding, see what we can do to help out. I know I didn't answer your question, but.
No, it did, because many years ago, I did some grant writing, and particularly if you're going to submit them to a state or a governmental body, you got to push them along. You have to have somebody behind it, kind of like nudging folks and checking in on it all the time, to get, a leg up, and all the rest of the stuff is in there.
Sean, anything to add to that?
No, that's what I was just reading this email from Matt back in 2019, and he was talking about a grant, but I think it was more for the sidewalk, Saquatucket. But yeah, absolutely. And I know that when Matt did it, he was working directly with Chris Clark. He was the one pushing it along.
I don't know who close.
He was the town administrator.
Oh, okay, okay.
And he's still in town, so I have no problem contacting him.
Okay.
He's working at Rita.
Yeah, and the
I still
guy,
have his phone number.
the guy from the county we had here, he said he knows contacts, so.
Right.
it's
There you
been,
go.
it's especially with the new infrastructure, we don't know whether we'll get, how they're gonna piece that out, but there are funds available, maybe.
Who is here from the county? Was it Steve Tupper from?
Steve
Yes.
Tucker.
He doesn't personally know them, but he knows so-and-so,
Right.
so,
He's a very smart man.
yeah.
There are people willing to help you.
Absolutely.
Go through the process and see where.
This person, Allison Boyd, you mentioned? Is she-
Allison Boyd is a grant writer that various communities have used. I haven't talked to her for a couple of years now, so I may fill it out and be wrong. But she's got money for the child care center on Bank Street. She used to be the primary that we
And
worked together.
a lot of housing things too.
A lot of
She was
housing
very good with the
activities,
housing
she was
groups,
good at.
yeah.
Okay.
But she'd be one of, even if she's not still doing it, it's been a while now, she probably have also contacts.
Okay, anything else?
I did, I think when last week, last meeting when she was here, she mentioned the procurement, town warrant article that was on the sidewalks in front of the library.
Yeah.
And I did ask Joe and Megan to check on the status of that, because that, they're still, I'm gonna say tied up, it's still in the procurement process. And I think there's some issues they need to, we're catching up on procurements, we got behind. But now there's some issues that they need some more input in. The brick, for instance, it turns out that you have to be sure to use rounded brick, because otherwise someone, if they have a cane, you get stuck. And there are a couple of things that we're looking at as well, to be sure it's right. But that's out there too, once we decide now. That's a positive note. The negative note is probably that $90,000 is not going to be enough.
Correct.
Because that's like 3 years old now. So that will be one of your discussion points, because I think that's a high priority for everyone. It will probably require additional funding for capital outlay to make it happen.
I believe so, like you said.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I thought that was almost a done deal.
Well, they got behind because of, like Sean says, everyone's busy and we didn't get procurement. But now we've got some wrinkles in there based on being sure it's ADA compliant. And it has to be brick to be,
Historical.
we can't fake it because historic. I'd like to myself a lot of times, but you should kill we try to go against historic. And then all of a sudden you got to be sure you're using proper brick to make that happen. And I never know which is the front of the library and which is the back of the library. But one of those, front or back.
Just go to the
because
parking lot.
I call the parking lot the front side, that's wrong, because that's where I go in and out of all the time. But one of them is the slope's not right.
Yeah.
It's a couple degrees off, and so we're gonna fix the sidewalk, we need to fix the slope too, and I'm not sure that was built into it. So that now there's a separate one, there's some more questions. I bring it up because it's still there, we're gonna have to add to it, but it should be part of your discussion, and with Sean and what we do.
Now I get it. Okay. Any more questions? Don't want you to leave. And then think of
Okay,
something.
well, I will leave with a mission. I will identify everything I believe has been done and everything I believe is a higher priority. But I'll leave that up to you to confirm.
Wonderful. And then we'll get that to the committee, and we'll put it on our agenda for next time we meet.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John.
Thanks, John.
Much appreciated.
Okay. Old business. So the committee talked a lot about Red River Beach specifically. We got information on wheelchairs, and wheelchairs are at beaches that have lifeguards. And we were told by Eric Beebe, who's the director of recreation, that he had hired ordered Moby mats, those blue mats. And I have been in touch with him, as you all know, and I've also been checking out if there are any mats, and there are not as of this past Sunday. I also have taken photographs of entryways to the beach between lifeguard chair number 5 and lifeguard lifeguard chair number 6. There is decking there, and I'll show you photographs, but there's so much sand covering the decking
Mhm.
that anyone with any type of walking difficulty would have difficulty. So I'd like to just pass around those pictures to show you.
I was there this morning looking at them.
One second. Might talk amongst yourselves a second while I find this.
Well, what I was just thinking is that, you know, they have the guy who's there. I walk Red River at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the guy's got this big, you know,
Beach cleaner.
yeah, whatever it's called, bulldozer kind of a thing that, and he's right there. And so
I think he's just on the machine.
I know.
But I
But-
believe Link has already had this problem at another location.
So this is
Well-
just one picture, if you could pass this.
Sure.
Yep.
And then I'll show you another one. And part of my dilemma is that often when I was at Red River Beach, there'd be 2 lifeguards and 1 lifeguard stand.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I said to myself, why can't we take one of those lifeguards and have them sweep this off daily?
On my job.
Thank you. Then there's another one that I actually got on my hands and knees and swooped away the sand, so that
I
you
saw it,
can
yeah.
see. So this is my doing.
Yep,
So that was completely covered by
that's
sand.
a couple of inches of sand.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was digging for a little
Right.
while.
Well, I've seen it all.
And then I went to Nauset Beach. And this is what I saw there. So a mobi mat could really be advantageous.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, are they still back
Yeah.
ordered? I don't know. The committee led me to believe that you might want to have Eric Beebe be a guest as well. So I wanted to discuss that before I made any appointments with him.
Mhm.
I'm getting nods, so, yes?
Yeah, and we don't know if there's any other facilities under his control that might have some handicap issues. I think they brought them all up to code.
At Red River?
No, all the rest of the rec facilities,
Oh,
baseball
I see what you're
things.
saying, yeah, yeah.
Look at the
Bathrooms,
bathrooms. and things
yeah,
like
yeah,
this. That's
yeah.
all off the
Yeah.
code.
Yeah,
And then we also have Bank Street Beach, and that decking is like this. So
Yeah.
if you're in a wheelchair,
needs to
you're
be
going to fall
reseated, yeah.
right over. So I know, you know, and I did look at a few other beaches, and if these mobi mats have never been delivered, let's get to the bottom of it, so that we're not spinning our wheels. Do you agree?
I
Thank
have
you.
no objection to that.
Can you pass this down back to Mary Ann? Thank you.
Okay, so we're doing well with time today. In the end, we probably could have had Matt Hall, but I didn't know how long Sean Libby, and I didn't want to rush. One thing I was thinking about, ordinarily it looks like we're going over the 2 o'clock end of meeting, and we were wondering, should we extend to an hour and a half? But now today, we're way ahead of ourselves. So I would imagine we should just table that for a while and see how we do through the winter.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. How is everyone reacting to what they heard from Sean?
Fine.
Well, at least there's some money somewhere. And, but I think, you know, there's many things that need to be done, and how do I was looking through this, and, you know, all these ones and stuff, and how do you prioritize all ones? And some of this is then apportioned out to the departments, like highways or whatever it is, recreation department and that kind of stuff.
Well, I think if I may, they can bring input to your committee, but I'd work through Sean.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's the main point.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, you're buying mats, that's the rec department, that's just buying equipment.
Yeah. And that
But it
comes
has
out
to
of
be
recreation.
installed.
Recreation,
That's the way
yeah.
I understood it.
But anything else, I would,
Needs to be installed though.
right.
And those, as
I would
Mary
keep
Ann is,
Sean in the loop, you don't need to invite him every time, we have minutes, we have actions, you know, we invite him on those.
okay. And is that how does that go? Do the committee sort of write something to that person and then, or have them come back and discuss it here, or what's the best way that?
I think the best way is to invite Sean back, he's very busy, but
Okay.
if you have a good discussion, you have a focused discussion, so it's not taking all day. You know, it's better to get his input, so it's
Okay.
two-way communication. But you can have all your discussion first and figure out what you think priority-wise and then bring it back.
Okay. 'Cause I did see something, I think I mentioned a couple of meetings before, some grants that the state of Massachusetts was for walking trails and improving walking trails, the safety of walking trails. But the money's not probably gonna be processed to 23, 24. So, but you know, the faster you
This
get
is
it in, the
22,
faster.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that far
It's in the
away.
queue. And I don't mind, redoing some research. I can see what,
Plus, my experience is as well that the state's not a well-oiled machine always.
well, that's true.
And it's not uncommon, it aggravates the hell out of us, is that, we'll get someone will find out or we'll discover or they'll communicate that there's grant money available, this is Tuesday. But we have to apply by Friday.
Yeah, yeah.
And so anything you have available, so it's those nice requests,
Sure.
you can respond to it as well, so.
Well, that's why I was saying earlier about, somebody available to push it along, maybe not from Harwich, but from, your candidates or your representatives around here, that they have people that talk to the folks at, the state all the time. And I don't know who those people are, but, I couldn't find them out, who they are.
So I just want to clarify what our next steps are. We're going to hear from Sean. Sean's going to give us a checklist of what's been done and what he sees as a glaring number one
Mhm.
priority. We'll hopefully be able to discuss that at our October meeting. The next thing I wanted to ask the committee was what future guests we would like to have come. We're having Matt Hall next meeting. We have talked in the past about Mike Locke, who's the Director of Conservation, so that we have collaboration with, we didn't even know about those trails that were going to become ADA compliant off Bank Street. So how does everyone think? Yes? So
Yeah.
Mike Locke would be
Yeah,
another one. And what about Eric Beebe and recreation? Because the first thing we all talked about were beaches, and that kind of came under his jurisdiction, the recreation department. And even though it'll be winter, what do you think about having Eric come as time? And then have Sean come back, maybe even have Sean, should we have Sean come back in October with Matt?
If he can do
If he
it that fast,
If he
yeah.
can do it that fast. And I'll send email out to him, and I'll always make sure I CC all of you.
I had kind of a question about, it just occurred a little while ago, I was in the library, and I just happened to notice that, some of the desks there, they have all those requirements as I was reading through about you have to have, so much space for height and that kind of stuff, and where the signposts are listed and whether they're tactile or not. And is there an expectation that we should be looking for those things? Because, they're saying that this, the tactile directions for people where the stairways are and how to get out in case of a fire and that stuff, but they have to be at a certain height and that stuff, and it's like.
I think she took part of there's a program for visually impaired, state and federal, and I believe they took good care of all of that. It's really how it should be printed and all. And I think,
I've seen it over there, but
Yeah.
I didn't know if the expectation was that we should look to see if it is in compliance. And then there are a whole bunch of other places that, you know, like bathrooms in the community center and stuff like that. I didn't even look.
that's where there might
Is
be
that-
problems, right? The library, I don't think there's a problem, because she took care of it.
Well, yeah,
All
that's
the
correct.
rest of our
That is
buildings-
correct, yes.
I'm sure the school, the new school is, because they had to be
They
ADA
had the-
compliant. But we have some older buildings that are not quite ADA compliant.
Yeah, just look across the driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be that hard to find. But I'm with you, I would trust Jenny and Carla
Yep.
that the library's in good shape.
well, I wasn't talking, I was just using the library as an example, and I don't
Okay,
know.
Well, good, the other buildings, I agree.
Yeah, the community center and, you know, other places around here that I don't know about yet.
I think the community center is, but I'm not sure of that.
Would that be an expectation that some of
Yeah.
our work is to go down and see if in fact they're in compliance with that?
And if any of the switches for the doors are on or off.
Well, you know what, I was running in today, I was drenched, and I had an umbrella, I went, oh, I'll use the thing
off.
on the outside. It's not on.
It's off.
It's off
Again?
again?
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
I can't,
goodness.
I'm not that tall, I can't reach way up there.
Where's the switch? I don't even know where the switch is.
The closer is that next to
I know the
the,
bar, you unlock it, but it's.
on the right-hand side, way up on that closer, it's, I think it's a position off, on, and, I don't know, hold or something. My eyes aren't that good either, Larry, but it was definitely not in the on position.
So who would we
Could be,
discuss this with that it's on all the time?
well, they could be bringing in supplies. They buy, what, 8,000 reams of paper a week or whatever. It could be the supply guy bringing stuff in, just tips it off or something, I don't know. Who knows?
It's not good. People are trying to.
Certainly for the,
You know.
Certainly could be taken care
this building.
of. Certainly could be taken care of.
So how,
That might even take care of it for me.
You have to disconnect the switch. So it has to be on all
No,
the
you
time.
can't do that.
I'll mention that to Joe, because we have the cleaning crew coming in and stuff, and
Would
talking
you-
about, you know, that's just something watching, be sure to turn it back on, I think.
so Larry, can we put that in the minutes, that Larry will discuss
Sure.
that with the town manager and make sure that.
I'll discuss that. with
Larry's got it under control.
Thank you, Larry. Okay.
It's good.
I wonder how many more of them are like that, though,
I
in
know.
other buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
I know the library is okay. I don't use it, but I see people. I don't test it, but today I really thought, oh, I'm so nervous.
She's very good, but she also has a lot of good volunteers that have,
Yes.
can spot all that kind. They might see somebody that's trying to use it. They will go and take care of it right away.
Wow.
We don't have that luxury here in
Right,
this
yeah,
building
right,
or
right, right.
most buildings.
Yeah.
And they do pick up and deliver. You can just, you know, stay in your car and then bring the
Yep.
books out and that
Yep.
kind of stuff. Really
Yep.
good. Yeah.
Okay. I would like to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
The Harwich Accessibility Rights Committee. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Set up.
So, yeah. Steve and Don, I will
You
never make
add, you
that
want to do the honors?
mistake again. I
I'm only
apologize.
kidding.
Sure, that's-
Could be worse.